What's up, everybody, and welcome to Splits.
Did you just say split screen? Wow.
I did.
No, we're keeping that. We're keeping that.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Kick-Ass Irreverent Gaming Podcast, Respawn Aim Fire, where three lifelong friends gather to talk about video games. I'm Chad. Michael Innes. That's the whole name. We should put in whole names. That's Holden DePardo.
That's not my whole name, though.
Holden Christopher Thomas Jefferson the First. Holden DePardo.
Close, but it's Holden Christopher Adams DePardo.
And you, the listener, are you. And that's why we love you. We have so much shit to talk about today. Oh, that voice right there just reminds me of Rick and Morty, which also reminded me that Trover Saves the Universe comes out in 4 days, which also reminded me, whoa, I'm going to have a great weekend. We've got a shit ton of stuff. We've got all sorts of PS5 stuff. We've got new Xbox stuff. We've got some new Nintendo announcements coming next week. So we're not going to sit here and dilly-dally with our dicks and our finger cups. That's finger cups. That's what a palm is now. It's a finger cup.
That's not how it works at all. Like, the fingers are protruding from the hand, not within the hand.
No, listen. If you had a coffee mug, and instead of a handle, it had fingers coming out of the side of it, you would call that a finger mug, right?
I guess
even
in that scenario.
Even though they're not the thing that holds something, they're extending from it.
Well, your palm is the worst cup ever.
It just depends on what you need to hold in the cup.
All
if
right.
it's like 4 screws while you're putting together an IKEA cabinet, it's great.
For the purposes of discussion, sure.
Logic wins again. We're going to start today by talking about our E3 quest log. Did we even put playtime in here? We did. Okay.
We did, yeah.
E3 quest log. It is that time of the month when it is time for E3 to start coming up to the conversation, and that's now. So first up, this actually dropped right after we stopped recording last time. Game of Thrones author and FromSoftware's Great Rune, rumored for E3. This is from Rory Young at Game Rant.
I am pumped about this.
I could be pumped.
Well, George R. Martin didn't confirm anything about FromSoftware, but he did say he's working with a Japanese developer on a project. It's like, why not FromSoftware? Why not them? That'd be great.
You're right. They are the only Japanese developer.
They are the only ones. It's the whole country.
One.
It's just the one developer.
Yeah. Japan studio out of Korea.
Yeah, shockingly enough.
It's a misnomer.
Yeah, Nintendo's struggling to get into China, their home country. It's been a whole thing. They've been developing Switches there, but they can't sell them in China.
What's the relationship between Hong Kong, Shanghai, and China?
I know they're independent in some way, I think. I have no idea. But
isn't one of them the capital
I'm the
of China
wrong
too?
person to ask that question. Also, to be clear, Nintendo is in Japan. They're not in China.
Yes.
Just people don't think that our sarcasm is fact. So Game of Thrones,
satire.
though, this Game of Thrones FromSoftware game, it is not a Game of Thrones FromSoftware game. It is going to be called Great Rune, apparently, and it's going to be an open-world action RPG. It's going to be also made by Miyazaki, who made Sekiro, Bloodborne, Demon Souls, Dark Souls. He made all those games. So
By himself.
No one else's help. He was the director of those games. The visionary behind it. It's plausible. The rumor is totally plausible. It's one of those things where it sounds so great, it could either be one of those rumors that fades into nothing because it's just too good to be true, or one of the coolest things to be announced at Microsoft's E3 events, if it's true. I'm pumped.
This, to me, could be one of two things. It could be the next Kingdoms of Amalur, where they're like, we have R.A. Salvatore writing for, the person who does all the stuff for the...
consider that.
Yeah. And then it turns out that the game mechanically is really dope, but everyone just is kind of meh on the game itself. Or this could be like Guillermo del Toro and his 19 different gaming projects that he's ever been involved in that all never see the light of day.
Well, this is apparently coming out like next year.
Well, that's what they say.
So if that's
Silent Hills was apparently coming out in the following year, I'm sure too.
They never announced that at all. So
they had a playable teaser of the game.
It was specifically a teaser. They hadn't made anything of the game yet. So in this case, when Bloodborne came out, Dark Souls 3 came out the next year. Even though both games were directed by Miyazaki. So it's actually not impossible to imagine that Miyazaki's going to make Sekiro and then Great Rune, if it's real, comes out next year as well. It's totally possible.
There will be horses, apparently, in Great Rune.
Yeah.
That's one of the very, very few things that I was going to say that we know, but we don't know anything because it's all rumor. But I'm tempering my expectations on this. Watch it be like a play-along... Sorry, I have the hiccups right now, and I'm trying not to throw up in my own mouth. Like a Telltale thing, and everyone's like super underwhelmed.
I don't think that's going to be the case here. I think, if anything, the underwhelming element's going to be... just the thing to consider... George R. R. Martin's probably not going to write every single story, every single quest, every bit of dialogue in the game. He's probably contributing. He's working on so many projects. He's working on
and not the ones people want him to work on. Write the fucking books.
Apparently, he's still working on it. But the point is, there's no way he's writing the script for an entire game. There's just no way. It's impossible. But it's cool that he'll be kind of influencing it, and that's exciting to see, because I do think there's a kind of a shared creativity or a shared theme, I should say, in dark fantasy for both George R. R. Martin and for FromSoftware. That I think them working together could be intriguing.
I think so too. We'll find out more at E3. Speaking of things that are impossible, like George R. R. Martin writing the entire script for that game, it's going to be impossible for you to get hands-on Cyberpunk 2077 at
segue.
E3. Thank you. But you will be able to get eyes on, because they will have watchable gameplay demos at their E3 booth. So you can watch one of them play it at E3 if you are going. That is confirmed from CD Projekt Red. There is a quote: "To answer many questions about the demo and whether or not Cyberpunk will be playable at E3, we are going to be hosting gameplay presentations, parentheses, game played by us, in that cinema." So yes, it will be there. You just can't play it yet.
I think that this is not as concerning as it sounds.
Do you think that's concerning?
Well, I think people are expecting this game to come out pretty soon. Either, like you were saying, it's going to come out this year, and then...
Did I say that?
Yeah, you said it's going to come out
I believe it then. Past me is brilliant.
And and then I was saying it's going to come out next year, and I was thinking, like, ooh, does this mean like it's just like not ready, and like they just really don't want people to play with it because it's so controlled, the demos they're having. And I really think it's that they know people are going to go everywhere. Yeah. They know someone gets their hands on this game, they're going to try to get through every single building. People will go in and collaborate online to figure out, okay, if you go to this building, then I'll go to this building. We'll try to find everything in it, and they probably don't have all those buildings filled up.
Right. I imagine the last things on their, other than like squashing bugs, the last thing on their to-do list is to like fill out all the tiny dialogue of people elsewhere in the world that don't matter at all and all that kind of stuff. And it's just not going to be full and ready by the time.
Yeah, but they can make a certain square of the map like that.
Right.
So exactly. I'm not worried about this at all. I think that they just want to control the hype because it's a beast of its own at this point.
Yeah.
I'm super pumped, though, because apparently they're going to have like an hour worth of content to show off again.
Pumped.
So, yeah.
Super pumped. Why is 8chan on this thing again? Okay, rumor. Let me read this. Rumor. THQ Nordic E3 2019 plans leak include destroy all humans. This comes from Dalton Cooper at Game Rant. The leak does not. But during an 8chan AMA, Reinhard Police, is that right?
I think it's Police.
It's spelled like police with two L's. Oh, it's probably Spanish. Police.
Oh,
Reinhard Police, Pollo Hermanos of THQ Nordic posted a screenshot of their E3 lineup. Holden has a screenshot, and it includes Darksiders Genesis, Destroy All Humans, Despacito, Monster Jam, Biomutant, and Monkey King? Monkey King in the screenshot does have a question mark on it. Darksiders Genesis, interestingly enough, would be the fourth game, and it is a game about the Four Horsemen. So maybe we will finally see whatever that fourth horseman is.
Possibly. I think Destroy All Humans makes sense. They teased a little while ago something galactic coming back. It's like, oh, Destroy All Humans makes sense. But this isn't really kind of even a leak because technically it actually did come from this guy, Reinhard.
Yeah.
He posted it. So I guess like that's happening. And you said like why 8chan again? This is that 8chan like AMA that was talked
That
about
was
if he was
so
here.
famously a stupid decision.
Yeah,
A
and
stupid
they made a
decision.
stupid decision here too by just tweeting basically or having a little text comment of what their whole showcase is going to be for E3. Like,
THQ Nordic is such a fascinating beast.
but we're talking about them right now, so
We are. That is indeed true. But we're going
Yeah.
to stop talking about them right now because we got to move on and talk about some other shit that I'm so excited to talk about. It's playtime, where we talk about the games we played this week. Hold on, I'm going to let you go first because you played a lot of Rage 2, and I want to hear all about it.
yeah, so I played a lot more Rage 2. Apparently I played one day, which is not possible. They said I played over 24 hours. I didn't play over 24 hours. That doesn't seem right at all. But I did play a lot more.
Every time I got on the PSN, it said you were playing Rage 2.
No, it didn't. I would go a few days without being able to play a game, so there's no way.
Well, I only got on PSN like twice, so.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's it. So I played more Rage 2, and I think my thoughts last week were, I'll bet horribly spoken, just basically was, it's fun to shoot things in the game. And that's basically still how I feel about the game, is that it's really fun to shoot things. And I was thinking, like, oh, what's the story? The story is there's a general guy that you're trying to overcome, so you're talking to these 3 people on the map to, like, work with them to, I guess, overcome the general. But really, you're just going around the map and shooting things. It's like what it always comes down to. The characters really aren't that rich. The world's not super rich. But if you look at the game as a playground to shoot things, it's a good time. You're just kind of spending a lot of time driving between different locations. Here's the thing, though. I'm really, really enjoying my time with the game, despite the fact that I know it's like a very simple experience in terms of it's very straightforward.
Yeah.
But it's so polished in how tight the shooting mechanics feel. So there's some other bugs with it. I'll get to that in a second. But it's so polished with shooting mechanics that I just keep wanting to go to the next bandits base or bandits camp to run through it. And it is also just super hectic. You have basically most bandit camps are set up where somewhere high up in the camp, if there is a high up area, they have someone shooting rockets at you, while you have people on lower levels either throwing grenades at you or charging at you with batons or this like big shield that they'll pull away to throw like a knife or something like that, or like what are they called? Wing something.
Shuriken?
No, that's not. They call it a wing something. I
Bat
forget what
ring.
it's called.
Batarang.
But basically, it's like a batarang, but it's like their like kind of special version of it in this
Wingstop.
world, H2, and I can't forget what it's called. I can't remember what it's called. The point is that you
The
have all these
Batwing.
different types of enemies. Shut up, Chad. You have all these different types of enemies that are coming at you, and you just have to respond super fast. You have to either like if you hit like L1, you can just kind of dash out of the way really quickly, but it feels very sudden, and it's very satisfying, very sudden and satisfying. So you're just jumping around this map constantly, trying to get in headshots as quickly as you can. And sometimes the enemies are a little bit bullet spongy, so you just kind of always have a lot of enemies chasing after you. So a lot of the times I'll kind of run around, shoot a bunch of guys as much as I can, maybe take some of their armor off, and then I'll pop out my shotgun and like mow some people down, then come back around another corner and just keep running around the map to like kind of keep them off guard. Because if I stand still, I'm dead almost instantly. It's really tough.
Kind of sounds like what Days Gone wanted to be with that horde of freakers chasing you.
It's not that many people chasing you, though. It might be like 10, not like 100 or so. But it's just really hectic and chaotic. A good way to kind of think about it is what Fallout 4 lacks, this game has, but it lacks everything Fallout 4 has. So like Fallout 4 has a really cool world with really fun characters, but the shooting mechanics just really aren't that interesting. And this has really, really great shooting mechanics and a world and characters that just aren't that interesting.
So they complete each other.
They complete each other. If you put them together, they'd make the perfect open world, sandbox, post-apocalyptic shooting game. The visuals are gorgeous, though. Oh,
really?
Shit. Yeah, when I walk into a city, it's like, man, I wish there was something more to this because it's painted so well. Like all the aesthetics of the buildings, the people kind of like just hanging around, everything looks so good, but there's it's just style. There's no substance to it.
Kind of like,
which is unfortunate.
Carmen Electra or Pamela Anderson.
Yeah, like it has
they
as
look
much.
really great, but there's just nothing rattling around in there that's interesting.
it has enough style to make convincing enough pitches that it's going to be a really cool world, but it just keeps not living up to what it seems to be promising. But the thing is that none of that bothers me enough because I still want to go play Rage 2 after we're done recording. So I still really do like the game, but it's definitely not kind of what I wanted it to be in terms of this really cool world to explore as well. I think they teased the world a lot in the marketing and showing some cool landscapes, but beyond the cool sights, I just want to go back to some missions. Cool. I have more stuff I'll kind of go into next week about the story and kind of how the story unfolds, but for right now, I'm really, really liking it. And if you bought it or are thinking about buying it, if you liked Doom, if you love the shooting mechanics of Doom and that game felt great to you, you're really going to like Rage 2.
Cool.
Yeah. I also played Borderlands 2.
What if I bought Doom and I never played it?
You should play that first because that game is awesome. It's so good.
Great.
Borderlands 2, I also played that. We'll talk about that, I guess.
Why did you play Borderlands 2? What's the significance of that?
It's something about our BARF game. I don't know if you know anything about that, Chad.
What does BARF stand for?
BARF is backlog accomplishments with Respawn and friends. If you're supporting us on Patreon, we have a game night and we're playing Borderlands 2, so you can play Borderlands 2 with us.
Oh, where can I go to support you on Patreon?
Patreon.com/RespawnAimFire.
You don't have to say / You can just say /.
No, I'm going to say / because it's.
But
someone might do.
Just do it.
Someone might do / instead because they don't know. I'm just telling them.
Because they've never been on the internet, and in that case, we don't want your dollar.
Well, I mean, I have a hard time with Slack, so people have a hard time with technology sometimes. And then we also played Dauntless together last night.
We did!
Yeah. You introduced me to the game, so you share your thoughts on it first.
Dauntless is the new hot thing for the moment, similar to like Fortnite and PUBG and what's the most recent one that people love from Titanfall guys?
Apex Legends.
That's Apex Legends. That's it. So it's
Chad's
kind of the
a big
new
fan. He's a
big
huge
fan over here. Play it every day. So Dauntless is kind of the new thing that was just kind of shadow dropped last week. It is a Monster Hunter, like an accessible Monster Hunter almost. Comes from Epic Games. And it's a free-to-play game, obviously with microtransactions, and there's a hunt pass, which is very, very similar to a battle pass from Fortnite. But it's them taking the success of Fortnite and applying it to a different genre to attract different types of people. We both played it together. We played probably about an hour and a half, maybe. I think
about an hour and a half, yeah.
And I played one extra mission after that before I shut it off for the day. But it's a game that's all about fighting big monsters in groups of 4 and getting materials to craft new armor that might work better against future monsters and new weapons and that kind of stuff, and then leveling up your skills. There are a ton of systems in this game, from different quests to shooting, like upgrading your gun, every piece of the gun, the lanterns to consumables. There's so much shit going on. And Holden was very overwhelmed at first and complaining nonstop.
To be fair, that frame rate was driving me insane. It was literally giving me a headache.
So since it's so new and it's the hot new thing from Epic, everyone's doing it. And in fact, it took me a little over 20 minutes to finally just get into the game.
Yeah, there was a 40,000 person waiting list.
Yeah. So that is definitely a barrier to entry right now. I'm sure that as you guys are listening to it, it's improved a bit. But yeah, being in that shared town area where everything kind of, the hub world that everything kind of goes out of, that frame rate was, when it got bad, it was sickening. But
it was that bad the entire time I was in that hub area.
Until the end of it, and you're like, I think it's getting better, or maybe I'm just getting used to being sick.
Yeah. So I want to start with the things I liked about the game first, and then I'll go on to some of that stuff. It has a really, really in-depth character creator, and I really enjoyed it.
Oh, it did, yeah.
I don't know why I enjoyed it so much. I just enjoyed it. I made a character I thought looked really badass. And let's get the character editor. It was very, very shockingly in-depth. The art style is fantastic. It looks really nice. It has an aesthetic that reminds me of Fortnite in a lot of ways, which I don't think is an accident.
Right.
But I really enjoyed the art style a lot. It's going to work well if you do continue playing it and they keep having interesting types of monsters, because it's a very kind of color heavy, or I should say the colors are very, very... You're a designer. What am I trying to say?
They're vibrant. They're super saturated.
No, I'm not even trying to say that. There's something kind of cartoony without being cartoony about it. Is there a term?
Bold.
Yeah, sure, bold. So that art style is going to work really, really well for creature designs and all that going forward, where it's not quite a cartoon, but it has this kind of realistic look to it at the same time. I didn't like the gameplay, though, is kind of the big issue for me. I'll get to the hub world. That's a really big complaint of mine as well. But the gameplay was a little stiff, which I can forgive because it's a free-to-play game. But what I couldn't forgive is that I didn't have, like, lock-on. Or maybe we were missing something. But if I pushed in the left thumbstick, then it would turn the camera towards the monster as long as the monster was in a close enough range. If it was too far away, then it wouldn't do it, which would get kind of annoying because the monsters do jump around a lot and might have gone out of that range. But anyway, it would jump out of the way, and then I'd have to hit that button to lock onto the monster again to see what I'm supposed to do, what I'm supposed to respond to. Oh, as soon as I lock onto the monster, he hits me. And it just got really annoying after a while. You didn't seem to get annoyed by that. Maybe I was just more vocal, but did you not have that issue?
I think I was just better at using the controls.
That's possible.
I had never came into a situation, I don't think, where I was like, I don't know where the monster is right now. And then as soon as I face him...
Well, it's not that I didn't know where it was. It was like I would just hit it so I could lock on to know what it was going to do next. And then as soon as I would lock on and see it again, it's hitting me that moment. I mean, yeah, sure, I could have just dodged out of the way right before I locked on. But when it moves away from you, your first instinct shouldn't be to dodge.
I don't know why not. I mean, I did, and I got a higher rank than you on every single battle. So
you did, because you dodged in that case. But it always gave us your rank as the team rank.
No, it was a different combine, because mine was like S plus and yours was A, and then we both got S plus plus as the team rank.
That doesn't make any sense. I guess
I was just so good I carried us to victory.
Anyway, so I was very annoyed with the lock-on mechanic. That was my experience, at least. So I guess not everyone has that.
I wonder if I think that's might be the same way in Monster Hunter World, and I wonder if it's because if you hit it at a different spot, you could break different parts of the monster. You could break its leg, break its tail, break its horn, whatever it is. Yeah. I wonder if they don't have lock-on so that you can be more like you can attack specific parts of it without having to be guided toward one specific area. But in that case, let me lock onto different legs.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, games have figured that out before, because you can just lock onto a leg or the tail or whatever part of it that is interesting. And then it might be a way to discover what parts you can chop off.
Yeah.
Now, the hub world, as you kind of mentioned, is a really bad frame rate. I think we're also very different gamers. So you kind of went into the hub world and started talking to absolutely everybody instantly.
Yep.
I don't like doing it that way because it kind of keeps me in that opening section for too long. I just want to run around really quick and just see what the whole area looks like. So I'd run around and see what the whole area looks like, and when I finally did start talking to people, they wouldn't say anything back to me. There was no other options, and then I never knew how to get back to that opening area again. And I also don't recall. I guess there was like a question mark symbol above one of those characters, but I just looked past it, so I missed it, and there was really nothing that was pointing me back and saying, like, this is the central area you're supposed to be in. So I kind of got lost in that. Combined with the horrible frame rate, I just got super annoyed. Yeah, I mean, the frame rate was nauseating. And I really don't think that I would have been that upset about not knowing where I was in that area had the frame rate been consistent. But it was so bad, I was literally telling you, I don't think I can keep playing. I kept getting vibes to when I got sick playing Resident Evil 7 VR, where I just, for like 40 minutes after playing Resident Evil 7, I was still nauseous. It wasn't like that bad, but I felt really uncomfortable. I could
feel your pain through your voice, and it made me not want to play with you anymore. To be honest, it was like, Jesus Christ, if you complain about one more fucking thing, I'm just going to shut this off right now. But then, whenever my frame rate, like an hour later in the town, did get that bad, I was like, oh, now I completely see what he was talking about.
Yeah, it was like that for me for the entire time. So you had moments in the hub world where it wasn't like that.
Yeah, most of the time in the hub world, like it would get framey for like a second, and then I'd have like 30 seconds of good. And then like a second of frame rate stutter, and then
Yeah.
But yeah, that one time for me, eventually it did get really bad where I'm running and then I like jump back a few steps and then I jump and start warping and the frame rate gets awful. Yeah.
I've always had a mild interest in Monster Hunter if it wasn't so complicated, and this seems a lot less complicated than Monster Hunter. So if it gets better in a few months, I might check it out again. Because I do think it'd be a fun game to play with people online. I'd much rather do that than a Fortnite or a PUBG or an Apex Legends. But right now I can't. There's just no way.
It is, to be clear, just like Fortnite, a constantly evolving game.
Yeah, that's why I'm willing to go back to it. It's also Epic Games.
Yeah.
So it is a studio that's going to back it.
Right. I enjoyed my time, I think, with it a lot more than Holden did. I loved the combat, all the different weapon types that I tried out. I tried the chain things, which are basically Kratos' Chains of Olympus, Blades of Chaos. Sorry, the Chains of Olympus is the name of a game. Blades of Chaos. Then my favorite was the pike, which normally I always stay away from like pikes and halberds and those range type weapons in RPGs. But I was like, let me just try out this one. And then it turns out it's like a fucking bow staff and you're just like doing martial arts with it. And then it also has like this awesome charged up rocket cannon thing in it. And I was like, ah! So if I ever play this game some more, that's definitely the weapon that I'm going to use. So yeah, the weapons felt really great. The combat felt good depending on what you're using. Some of it was slow, but of course you use a hammer, it's going to be slow. I liked the loop, the gameplay loop. Kill a monster, get some stuff, go back, craft weapons and armor, and like, oh man, I've got 3 pieces of the armor set. I'm going to go back and kill that same monster to get some more materials so I can finally craft that, so that lets me find another monster that's even stronger later. Like that loop, I can definitely see how it's going to be super addicting. There are, I think, too many systems, honestly, right now. Like when you left, I did that last piece, and the quest that we didn't do together, the shock... I forget, the shock behemoth. That one was more of what I imagine Monster Hunter is, where it was a huge area compared to the other 3 that we had done, and you had to track the monster. And of course,
I was
interested
in trying that out.
Yeah, there were 4. I just teamed up with 3 rando people, and right off the bat, we all just ran in completely separate directions. And then I could see that one of my teammates was like getting hit. And I was like, oh, he found the monster. And I was just running around for literally a good like 3 minutes before I was like, I have no idea where the fuck anyone is. And that guy is obviously the only one who found the monster. And then we eventually got there. And one of the time we started showing up and fighting. But that seems like it could be a little bit more interesting. But that's honestly the part that I'm not interested in, is tracking a monster and not doing anything but following clues. Like that doesn't interest me at all. What does interest me is cool ass combat. And I felt like it did have that. But there are too many systems. Sorry, go on.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, I think the other areas we were in are bigger. They just had the monster early on. Because you were able to run past the monster, and there was some more stuff there.
Yeah. I didn't enjoy all the different types of potions, and that there were so many different parts of the gun that you could upgrade as well. And I'm like, I don't even know when I would use a gun, let alone want to upgrade every single part of it. There's a lot of pushiness. Obviously, it's a free-to-play game. There's a lot of pushiness for you to like buy extra stuff. And so I could see myself, if I got into it, paying a lot of money. But I kind of enjoyed my time with it, but I don't think I'm going back. What it did make me interested in was trying out Monster Hunter World. So I think the next time that thing goes on sale, I'll probably pick it up. But I only want to play that if I'm playing it with a crew of like 4 people and we're all going out. So if you're listening to this and you have Monster Hunter, or if Monster Hunter World ever comes on Game Pass, because I did just pick up Game Pass for 3 months for $1, let's make a little hunting clan. Let's go do some stuff.
That also sounds like a really good game night game.
It does.
What else? I'm interested in doing that for Barf, because I'm mildly interested in Monster Hunter. I keep warming to the idea, then not warming up to it, then warming up to it, then not warming up to it. So I'm in that flip-flopping phase. But
especially if we did do like the online requirement once a week, like we're doing with Borderlands.
Yeah, like that could convince me.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. This is going to be a harder game to pick up and play with people, unlike Apex Legends and Fortnite, because you are leveling up, you are getting new equipment that makes you objectively better, and it's not just like a skill kind of based thing. And some people have certain behemoths unlocked, some people don't. So I feel like it's going to be harder to break through, and it's like not everyone can just pick up and immediately play with each other. But we'll see if it has legs. That was Dauntless. And then I played a couple of other things. One I want to talk about real quick. It's not a game, but Raising Kratos came out a few weeks ago on YouTube, and that's the 2-hour-long God of War documentary. And it is fascinating. It's wonderful. If you enjoy video games at all, whether you played God of War or not, it does have God of War spoilers. If you plan on playing God of War, maybe play it first. But it's fascinating and worth watching for everyone.
I do want to see it. I'm curious, how much is it mostly showing kind of the performance and the art side of it, or is a lot of it on like kind of the coding and development of the game as well? Kind of what's the balance?
Kind of a little bit of everything.
Okay.
A little bit of everything. You laugh, you cry. I did cry while watching this. Oddly enough, I did not expect to, but I did. It's great. Just go watch it. Shut up and watch it. I played Observation. Have you heard of Observation?
I have not. I've heard of Operation.
I played Operation. I was Daddy Doctor, and I was operating on a little miss. Observation is, I feel like we saw a trailer for it somewhere. Maybe it was E3, maybe it was a direct somewhere. But it's a game where it's on a space station of sorts, like an international space station, but it's not specifically that one. And you play as the AI on the ship. Like, you're not a person who's interacting with the AI, you are the AI. And it's all done through camera feeds. And, yeah.
It says this is a puzzle game. Are you okay?
We'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
We'll get to that in a second. So you play as the AI, and so that gameplay mechanic and that kind of that trick is cool, where, oh, you have to go figure out what's happening in this area, or you have to solve something so that we can move on and do something else, and you're like just jumping between security camera feeds and zooming in on things and finding documents, and that's really interesting. Little twist. It's came out of nowhere, and like every site reviewed it this week. It came out this week as well, so I guess it didn't come out of nowhere. It came out this week. But everyone's reviewing it really, really well. Like IGN gave it a 9, GameSpot gave it an 8.5, and I just watched the trailer for it, which made it look really, really spooky and almost like a horror kind of game. And then I just looked at the scores, and I was like, all right, I'm going to play this game. And downloaded it. It was $25. It's about a 6-hour experience. And by the end of it, I hated it. But it's not because it's not necessarily good. It's good. It's good. But I'm not a puzzle guy. And I did not know it was going to be a puzzle game.
Quote from Chad. It's good.
It's good.
They're going to put it in the box.
I started out playing it, and I very quickly was like, oh, this is puzzles. Like, I have to... It's one of those things where it doesn't tell you specifically where to go or what to get sometimes. So you're in this room, and you got to figure out, all right, what the fuck do I got to find in this room? I got to find some documentation somewhere that points me to something else, and then I take those two pieces of information, combine them, and make something else out of it, and then that tells me where to go. You
make it sound like it's Resident Evil 2 without the zombies and the horror.
Oh, God. Well, you're right. There were no zombies. Well, no, there were no zombies.
What do you mean, well?
Well, you have to play the game to figure it out. But what did keep me going through the whole thing, obviously not a platinum trophy kept me going, because there is no fucking platinum trophy for this game. Otherwise, I would have gotten it. But just about every single time, about 30, 45 minutes go by, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I know it's 6 hours, but I'm 2 hours in already. I'm not going to play the other 4. Something would happen story-wise that would just be just interesting enough and just cliffhangery enough to be like, I kind of got to know what happens. And then I play a little bit more, and I'd get to the point where I was like, oh, I'm so done with this game. And then something happens, like, oh, I got to figure out what that is. And then I got to the end of it, and I was like, the very end of the game, I was like, I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't know what happened. I feel like this wasn't worthwhile for me. There were literally parts at the very end of the game where I was shouting out loud at my TV, like the woman would be on, Sam. Sam's the name of the artificial intelligence. Sam, join me in this room. Sam, come here. Sam, I'm waiting for you to come here. And I'm like, I literally shouted at the TV, I don't fucking know how to get to where you are, you stupid bitch.
But Chad, sometimes finding out where you need to go is the puzzle.
I know! That was the puzzle. Fucking puzzle platforming.
It's never a puzzle.
No.
It's a stupid,
but this
lazy
was
puzzle.
a puzzle. It was a stupid-ass puzzle that I fucking hated. But what made it worse is that it wasn't a figure out the puzzle and take your time, learn how to get there. It was every 60 seconds. Sam, where are you? Sam, come find me. Like, it's just mocking you that you haven't fucking figured out that you have to get into that vent and travel through the vents to get to the other area.
It's like what people joke Navi's really like, but really is that annoying.
Yes. Oh, man. It's really... the art style is kind of cool in that everything looks... especially when you're playing through cameras, everything looks like it's kind of on a VHS type thing. So it has a really interesting style to it. I took a lot of screenshots and sent them to you. You're welcome.
I noticed
just so I could save them and use them for future quotes of the episodes. But there were also a lot of technical issues. There was things like the lips would be way out of sync. Like, literally, I'm going to clap whenever this woman would whenever her mouth would... I'm going to say something, and then my clapping represents when her mouth actually starts moving. Okay. Sam, why don't you come over here and like, it would literally be seconds. You would hear the audio, and then seconds would go by before you start hearing her speak or seeing her speak. And then there was a cutscene where, like, two people are sitting there side by side talking, and then her head just starts drifting through the wall. And they're like, is she clipping through the wall right now? She is clipping. And then at the end of the conversation, she's like, cool, I'm gonna go take care of blah blah blah. I'll be back. And she just gets up and in zero gravity just rockets right through the wall. Her complete body, just as if there's nothing there, just goes right through it out into space.
That's how space works.
Yeah, so there were definitely some issues. I had issues with it, like being forever stuck on a loading screen. I'm surprised. Props to me for sticking with this game. That's what they call perseverance, you guys. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get whatever. It has an interesting hook where you're playing as an AI.
Are the puzzles
get the
clever?
9.0
Like, could
out
you
of
just
10.
be like, oh, I can see why someone would think this is a good puzzle?
They weren't super in deep puzzles.
Okay.
Like, nowhere near the Witness level. But
okay. I mean, is it that kind of? Okay, I'll check it. I might check it out actually.
Yeah, watch some gameplay or something of it. Yeah, I don't understand the 9 out of 10s that it's getting. But
it's because it's $25 and it's made by like a handful of people, maybe.
It was actually made by... Who was it made by? It was made by someone...
Oh, it's made by
noteworthy.
Kojima Games. This is actually what Death
Shut
Stranding
up.
is.
Observation game developer... Oh, it was Devolver Digital published. That also contributed to part of why I picked it up. So I was like, oh, Devolver. They make some quality stuff. Developed by No Code. Yeah, do with that what you will. If you're looking at it and you're like, I don't like puzzles, what did Chad have to think about it? Well, fuck it. But I did start playing Guacamelee 2 as well on my Switch. And this game, I totally forgot what I loved so much about Guacamelee. And it's how self-referential and video game referential this game is, and pop culture. It is, first of all, an incredible Metroidvania game. And in fact, it straight up steals things. Like, the place where you get new skills, it is the Metroid statue. You know, the Metroid statues that like are holding the ball in their hands. And you're like, oh, you got the morph ball. It's that, but it's the Mexican version of it. There's a lot of things that are like very similar to other video games, but they're chicken versions because chickens are a big thing in this game. There are billboards everywhere that reference everything from Sonic to Arrested Development to everything.
Arrested Development. You got me sold. I'm in.
Yeah, someone who's wearing a Bluth banana shirt.
Right now.
Yep. This game is so funny. Straight up in the beginning, there's like something from Playdead Games. I won't spoil what it is, but there's something from Playdead Games in there as well. This game is great. It's fantastic. It feels super great. If you were a fan of Guacamelee 1, all of that same kind of stuff is back, and it feels better than ever. There is a heavy emphasis on multiplayer, so I really want to try to play it with somebody. I move into my new apartment tomorrow night, so hopefully one of them will play video games with me. Probably not, though. But yeah, it's super fun. If you have Guacamelee too, or if you're curious about it, I'm a third of the way, almost halfway maybe through it. It's about an 8-hour game. I'm fucking loving it. The music is fantastic too. And art style, of course, is Drinkbox Studios. So they always make everything that looks really fucking great.
I have not played even Guacamelee.
Did you ever play Severed?
Nope. I know what that is, but I haven't.
Have you played any Drinkbox Studio games?
Nope, not one.
Well, you should.
I've heard good things. Actually, I know that I think all their Severed and both Guacamelee games are on Switch.
Yeah.
Let's check them out.
Pick them up. They're wonderful. And in my, renaissance of Metroidvania games, learning this year that I love Metroidvania so much. And the beginning of the game is a straight up nod to Symphony of the Night too. And I was like, oh my God, this is 100% Symphony of the Night. This is so cool. I love it. We don't have time to talk about anything else. We got to move the fuck on.
Yeah, we got to move on. We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Let's breeze through our fetch quests. Quests that just don't have a whole lot to them. We're going to read some headlines. Holden, take us through it.
So God of War has passed 10 million in lifetime sales. Good for them. There's a release date for the for Man of Medan, Man of Medan. I wrote
Medan.
The Man of Medan, which is from the people who made Until Dawn. That's August 30th. It's the release date for that. Metro Exodus had the largest... What
do you say to a community playthrough of that Labor Day weekend? We're not going to commit hardcore, but sometime after that game releases, let's have a community playthrough of it.
For the first time playthrough. That'd be fun.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes!
Speaking of fun, Metro Exodus has the largest launch in THQ Nordic history, and they're now working on an unannounced game, which is probably another Metro game. The first gameplay for Neo 2 was shown off in a trailer for the closed beta. It looks...
Closed alpha,
sorry. Looks really good. Google has confirmed that during the summer we're going to hear more information on the release date, price, and all that for Stadia, so I'm excited to see what that's going to be like. Yep. And then Death Stranding on Wednesday is going to get some sort of announcement, new trailer probably.
Yeah.
So
I think they did say it was going to be a trailer, right?
They just showed that, creating the rope or whatever it is, May 29th.
Oh, yeah, create the rope. Also, the name has never made sense, but strand, like a strand of yarn or rope.
Yep. It says the countdown of Death Stranding has started, May 29th.
Maybe things that connect death together, the strands that connect death together.
Awesome would it be?
I don't know.
The countdown to Death Stranding. It's just coming out May 29th.
It's not going to happen. That's my sister's birthday. They would never coincide.
That's good. That's good reasoning. I like that reasoning.
Yeah.
No, definitely not coming out May 29th. But that would be badass if they did do that, though.
I don't think
Shadow drop it. They're not going to. But it'd be really awesome. Pokemon Sword and Shield, they're going to have a direct for those games next week, June 5th.
I hope they show off the legendaries.
Oh, I'm sure they will. Let's move into third party. We have a great story here.
Oh, Anthem on Xbox One has fewer players than Fallout 76 and Battlefield 1.
I should
Dalton Cooper at Game Rant.
You should say great story, but honestly surprising. I didn't expect it to be that low. Holy crap.
Me neither. Microsoft maintains a list of the most played games on Xbox. Battlefield 1 is lowest on the list. Anthem isn't even present. The site Battlefield 1 Stats tracks Battlefield 1 and shows it goes between 2,500 and 7,500 active players. So that means Anthem is lower than that or near it. Anthem had a rocky start and is still having some problems with its community and is being really upset with it, but I did not even know that it was worse than Fallout 76.
Yeah. Bet those servers run real smooth, though.
Oh, yeah, they do. No frame rate in that hope world.
Nope.
Oh, man. How do they address that at E3? They don't have a press conference, so they don't have to.
But they have to mention it at some point.
I mean, maybe if they show off whatever the next expansion.
And they didn't say they weren't going to be at E3 at all. They just said they're not going to be at E3 the conference.
They're just doing live streams of games. That's it.
Yeah. So maybe they're planning on showing off some new Anthem content, and now maybe not. I don't know. I really don't know. They've said they're committed to working on it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure
You're
No
wrong.
Man's Sky had a much, much lower audience, and they worked on that game. Granted, the comparative audience of what they were going for was different, but No Man's Sky pushed through, and they've made it so maybe with the slow of an audience, they can push through and make it. Who knows?
Yeah.
Not counting on
worth it.
Not counting on it, but it's possible, I guess. Speaking of not counting on it, but it's possible, I guess. Actually, minus the the possible part, because it's not possible. Sonic the Hedgehog is getting delayed.
Nice transition.
Sonic the Hedgehog movie is getting delayed to fix Sonic, which I don't think is possible. I think this movie's problems go way deeper than just Sonic and his look.
Oh, yeah.
But they're delaying it for February 14th, Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day 2020.
I mean, I saw the trailer and thought, how romantic.
I know, right? Jim Carrey, let's all sit on his face.
Do you know what looks better than Sonic, though?
EA Frostbite's new engine.
Yeah.
In Next Gen Hair. So EA shows off Frostbite Engine's Next Gen Hair. Tom Phillips at Eurogamer reported this. If you guys have 20 seconds, go look up this video because that hair looks so good. It sucks that it's on Frostbite Engine, which apparently is notorious for being terrible to work with.
Yeah, I tell you, though, that it does look shockingly good. I remember when I saw Final Fantasy 13 and the hair in that, and I was like, whoa, like next gen hair, that's remarkable. Square Enix are geniuses. This just looks like real hair.
It does. It looks like real fucking hair.
Real hair. It's
like
amazing.
I could see this hair on Lightning from Final Fantasy 13 in an ad for some Gucci purse.
There's you can see individual strands of hair moving on their own. Light reflects off of each strand individually. You can also see imperfections, some like strands that are loose and kind of separated from the other strands of hair. It's crazy good looking. Good job to them.
In the biz, we call those flyaways.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
You gotta tame your flyaways.
Moving on to Nintendo.
Nintendo Questlog. Sega. Game Freak. Prioritizing original development. Quote, we are always trying to create something equally exciting or more exciting than Pokemon. All of what I just said is the headline of the article.
Yeah, that's a long headline.
So within Game Freak, Team One Gear project is devoted to original pitches by developers. We've actually already seen one of these games, right? Town. Isn't Town one of their original games that's coming out?
They didn't mention that in the article as something from Gear Project. I think that might be from the Pokemon team. Because they mentioned from the people who brought me Pokemon in there. Let me see.
Harmonite, Pocket Card Jockey, and Onoue, O-N-O-U-E, apostrophe S, possessive. Giga Wrecker, all games from Gear Project. And these games are not exclusive to Nintendo platforms. They are also on PS4, Xbox, and PC. I hate you. Team 2 is all about them Pokemans.
I don't see... It just says everywhere I'm looking, from the Pokemon creators comes... Does that mean the team within them that's Pokemon, or does that mean just Game Freak? So, I don't know.
No say, I say.
Town could be.
Yeah, Town did not look interesting to me.
No, it didn't. So
I am not interested in Pocket Card Jockey.
Yeah.
Or Giga Wrecker or Harmonite, whatever that is.
Well, that's kind of why I'm thinking maybe Town's not part of this, because I know Town more than any of these other games.
Yeah.
They mentioned here. So Harmonite, Pocket Card Jockey, and Onu's Giga Wrecker.
Great.
Yeah, I haven't heard any of those. But it's interesting that they are making a statement to say that they're trying to basically branch out from Pokemon.
Yeah.
And they're not making these games to be in the shadow of Pokemon. They want these to hopefully be huge. The thing is that no matter what they make, it's always going to be in the shadow of Pokemon, because Pokemon's literally the biggest IP on the planet.
Yeah, well, I don't know on the planet, but it is huge.
No,
huge.
I'm pretty confident it is the biggest entertainment intellectual property on the planet. It's not counting like Coca-Cola or something like that.
Coca-Cola is an entertainment property. Well, you look that up. I'll talk about Mario Kart Tour Beta. Get your first look at Mario Kart Tour from mobile from IGN. The beta for Android is available in Japan right now. And although the beta does include a non-disclosure agreement where you're not supposed to share screenshots or video, people are doing it anyway. So some things about it. The carts apparently drive automatically, and you swipe to steer. There are a few playable characters and courses. Mario, Luigi, Peach, Bowser, Toad, Toad to Shy Guy, Toadette, Metal Mario, Dry Bones, and the baby characters. Something that's interesting that apparently is being called out is that they are testing maybe having microtransactions to unlock some characters to play as. So you might get a core group of a few people to play as, and then if you want to play as other people with, quote, special abilities, you'll have to pay extra money to unlock them as well. But also interesting is that the circuits seem to be from the other Mario Kart games. So there's the SNES Choco Island 2, the DS Luigi's Mansion level, 3DS Toad circuit, and the 3DS Mario circuit level as well. And then related to that, there's a headline from Nintendo Life. The beta for Mario Kart Tour doesn't seem to include proper multiplayer racing. Quote, GameXplain have discovered the upcoming mobile release is simply grabbing profiles of players, which are then represented as CPU during a race. So you can leave a race, wait, and then rejoin the race exactly where you left off. So yeah, it's basically the Ghost system.
Yep.
A little bit, but like artificial intelligence, machine learning Ghost system, where it's not necessarily I drove this track and this is exactly where I went, but it's them saying, if Chad drove this track, this is probably what he would do. And you race that version of me rather than you and I actually racing in real time. That, I think takes all the joy out of it for me.
I'm not surprised they do it that way, though, because they want it to be pick up and play whenever... Like, they want it to be I have 3 seconds or 3 minutes, let me try doing a race in Mario Kart. If your friends are not coincidentally going to be playing in that 3-minute period, most likely.
Yeah, but what do you play Mario Kart for? To race against the computer all the time? No. I do it to try to prove to myself that I'm better than you, and you always beat me anyway.
But it's based
and that's
off
why I don't play Mario Kart
it's based off
anymore.
of your time. So if you're doing the ghost races, some of those ghost races can be really tough because it's still looking at how long it took them to finish the race. So if you beat the race 5 seconds faster than me because the racing was so much better, sure, I won't see your racing that was so dope. It'll just be a version of you that just going around the track in whatever pattern the computer decided to go in, but it'll still be timed to end.
But it's still not going to be as fun. I won't be able to say, oh man, Holden, you remember when I ran you off the road and you fell into that pit? And you can be like, no, I don't remember that because it was another artificial intelligence version of me.
But that's what console Mario is about.
I know. That's why I'm not interested in mobile Mario.
Well, if this is just designed to get people to play the console version, and you already have the console version, so they won.
But I don't play that one anyway. So.
Pokemon is the largest intellectual property for media. Number 2, shocking. I did not expect number 2 at all. Pokemon has made $90 billion since 1996. That's why it's the number 1 property.
Oh, that's the measurement.
Yes,
is just
how
money
much
it's made.
How much money it's made? Yes.
Okay.
Number 2,
not mind share or anything else important.
Well, I think money would be a big factor in that.
I mean, they're correlated.
Yeah. I guess number 2 is. This is really surprising, but I didn't know how long this property has been around. No, but I bet that's definitely bigger than Pokemon for sure. Yep. Hello Kitty is number 2.
Oh, I believe that.
But it's been around since 1974. So
yeah, I remember being a kid having Keroppi the frog, a little stuffed animal. Hello Kitty's huge.
Number 3 is Winnie the Pooh. Number 4, Mickey Mouse and Friends.
Stupid.
And then number 5 is Star Wars.
Stupid. Pokemon for life, y'all.
Interesting.
And cite your source?
This is Wikipedia.
Yeah. Good luck using that in a research paper. Moving on to our Microsoft Quest log. Project xCloud, more for gamers and developers. This is from Major Nelson. From the horse's mouth. Major Nelson is not a horse. From the human's mouth itself. We don't use idioms because idioms are not international, and we hope to grow our podcast to be an international treasure.
We're all learning 5 languages. We record it 5 times different languages to grow.
That's right. It's going
to work.
But it all starts with not using idioms. Foundation of Azure Data Center across the globe in North America, Asia, and Europe means that they are centrally located for many, many continents and countries around the world. Capcom and Paradox Interactive can test their games on xCloud without porting, adding, or changing any code. Basically plug and play. That's kind of the allure of this, is that gamers game developers don't have to do anything extra to make their games run on Project xCloud. And I think one of the more staggering things that came out of this is that literally every single Xbox, Xbox One, and Xbox 360 game that is playable today on Xbox One is going to be on playable on Project xCloud.
Yes.
I almost call it Project Stream. Yeah, so it all just works. They don't have to do anything extra. But this other last part here is streaming API, IS streaming?
Yes.
I guess. Okay, whatever. Quote, games can then queue features and functionality to enhance the streaming experience. For instance, adjusting font sizes for smaller displays or hosting multiplayer matches on a single server to reduce latency. So they can add extra things into their game for streaming to optimize it for different mobile platforms. Mm-hmm. I just kind of want that font sizes thing to be a general thing in games going forward.
Right?
Yeah. It doesn't have to stream, but I just want to be able to adjust it no matter what.
Interesting. So one thing I thought was interesting too, Microsoft talked about how, and I actually didn't put the exact stat in here, but they said that they have 13 regions, 13 of their regions are going to be supporting, are going to have data centers for Project xCloud. And they have like 154 regions that they cover, or countries they cover. 54 regions in total. So I think 140 countries, 54 regions. That's the number I'm looking at. They cover 13 of those regions are going to be dedicated to Project xCloud. I decided to try to look up what Stadia was doing, what their what their access is going to be, and I couldn't find the exact stat, but they have 200 countries that they're supporting and they have data centers in. So they already have a larger net kind of across the globe. So I'm not sure if Microsoft is dedicating more of their resources to this than Google is. Google might be only dedicating 2 regions. I have no idea. They might be focusing on only US right now. I have no idea. But I thought that was interesting, is that Google is coming from a place of having more data centers than Microsoft does, which could play to their advantage.
Interesting.
So I just thought that was worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Since they made a point of mentioning it.
And then finally, I guess this is something we should talk about.
You don't think we should?
I think it's just so stupid because it's only on PC. Introducing the new Xbox Game Bar, also from Major Nelson. So this is something that comes up on your Windows 10 device. If you are playing games, you can hit the Windows key and the G key to access a dashboard. So if you are kind of familiar with the Mac OS dashboard, which I guess if you're familiar with that, then this Windows 10 thing is irrelevant to you. But it's kind of like that, except for instead of having widgets on there, you can have gaming-focused stuff. So you can have things when you press Windows key G while you're playing a game. You can have screen capture tools and sharing, controlling your Spotify playlists, looking for group, that kind of stuff with friends. All of that can come up baked now into the Windows 10 operating system. So, woohoo! Do you know if this has to be integrated with like the they rebranded? It's not the Microsoft Game Store anymore. It's
I know
Game
what
Store,
you're asking.
right?
Yeah, I don't think it does, and the reason is that there's a quote. Just the quote in here is that it works with nearly all PC games.
So that
they don't say
maybe
they
it's
don't
Steam
say
and Epic as well.
Yeah, exactly. But I think what that might mean is if you wanted to like match with your friends to join a game with them, both of you guys still have to be on Xbox to do that.
Yeah.
I imagine that. But like you could still do text chat back and forth with your friends playing in different games that way. You could still change your Spotify playlist that way. I'm sure there's things you can still control and do even if the game is from Steam or from Epic Game Store or something like that. As long as it's not directly interacting with that game. So I think it's just interesting only in the sense that it means that Microsoft is just taking another step to make sure they have a presence in gaming, even if it's not their own store. Kind of sticking with their kind of open access. But I think this is actually this could turn into something larger. I think this might be the kernel of something. I don't know. It's kind of cool.
This could be the start of something new.
The next story is
musical.
Much more consequential, moving into
We're
our
going to go
Sony
to
Quest
our
log.
Sony Quest log. Sorry, I didn't know you were going to transition. Then we both said it, and now this is awkward because we're both walking away in the same direction. So I'm just going to walk like 3 miles per hour faster than you.
Okay, keep going then, Chad.
PS5 price could be seriously affected by proposed 25% tariff, coming from William Parks at Game Rant. So this new tariff proposals from the Office of the United States Trade Representatives would add 25% to goods coming from China, including, among a shit ton of other things, video game consoles and machines. This could possibly come into effect by June 24th, depending on the hearing on June 17th. These stories serve a purpose, but they are very misleading, I believe.
In this case, calling out just PS5 is...
Yes.
This would affect every console being sold. Anything that's basically manufactured in China, essentially.
And here's the thing. This is meant to scare you and be like, I don't want PS5 to cost 25% more. I'm going to be against whatever this tariff is. And what this is really doing is there are billions of headlines, literally billions, I decided that right now. Billions of headlines, all just like this, except for substitute PS5 with, your favorite Ninja blender is going to cost 25% more. Your favorite Windows laptop is going to cost 25% more. All to get people up in arms about this tariff so that people call their senators and say, hey, I don't want this tariff. And then their senators do whatever the fuck senators do, probably like jack off in a bathroom and assault somebody.
I think that's what happens in House of Cards. That sounds about right.
Exactly, and then murder people. But really, I don't think we are ever going to see anywhere near a 25% increase on cost for any of this shit.
Well, to the senator stuff that's going to happen is that 25% is going to be drastically reduced to something else, or it'll be replaced, filled in with something else, like rice will start costing more or something like that. I don't know. Corn will, like just something else that they can tax. They'll tax that instead.
There will never come a day when you see, remember when PlayStation 4 used to cost $300? Well, now it costs $350. You will never see that
don't
happen.
say never, but it's unlikely in our current system.
You absolutely won't. So yes, these headlines are important because it's meant to get you riled up so that you take action in your country and do your duty and vote, which you should do. But you should also not believe this headline. Speaking of great headlines... next-gen PSVR could have double the resolution and no wire. Comes from Matt Kim from US Gamer. Again, taking something said in an interview and kind of making some decisions about it, but not really. Dominic Mallinson, Sony VP of R&D, discussed must-have features in a next-gen VR headset at Collision 2019. So he had spoken very candidly about, what VR, the state of the industry is in VR, what, as a general whole, VR should be going towards. And then he never mentioned anything specific like PSVR, this is what we need to do with it, specifically next gen. But some cool things have come out of it. Some hypotheses that people are having based around that is that we will have double the resolution in order to match modern expectations for high-res content. One other thing that I read in this, speaking of resolution, that I hadn't considered, traditionally with screens and TVs, we talk about DPI, or dots per inch, how many pixels per inch, as a measure of resolution, of whether something is good or bad resolution. But I hadn't considered that in VR, that's not necessarily a great measurement. While something may have more pixels, it might also have a wider field of view. So they measure things in pixels per degree. So if you have a narrower point of view but lower resolution, that might provide the same experience as a wider field of view with a higher resolution. So just a little fun fact and tidbit that I got out of this interview.
The more you know.
Yeah, the more you know. That's my super short show. Those are two different slogans that I mashed up. Have I mentioned that I'm as good as the kids on Glee? I can do a mashup. Introductory wired model and higher-end wireless model is hinted at. Quote, that's something that we've done with the PlayStation 4. We could do that with PSVR, having two different models, that is, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 4 Pro. But I think what he thought was most important, and I think is also a huge factor for the next one, is eye tracking and larger field of view at 120 degrees. Eye tracking would allow you to do so many different types of things in VR. One of the examples he gave was being able to, rather than having to turn and orient your whole head at somebody, you can choose who you're having a conversation with in a game by just looking at them. So if I look to my right with my eyes, I could say something and address that person, or press a button and address that person, and then look to the left and say, hey, what do you think about it? It also makes things like Rec Room or places where you're gathering with people in real life, it makes those interactions a lot more natural, being able to see eye tracking and where people are actually looking. And then, wider field of view. You mentioned that with our periphery, we have about 180 degrees field of view as humans, but most headsets top out at 120. So there's definitely a big opportunity there. Oh, something else about the eye tracking. If they can track where your eye is looking at any specific time, they also have the ability then to render that small spot at a really high resolution, and then everything in the periphery be lower resolution to save on processing power as well.
Which is basically how your eyes work anyway.
Exactly, yeah. A lot of people are like, what's the resolution of the human eye? And it's like, it doesn't work like that. That's not a thing. Because we see small areas really sharp and clear, and then everything else around it is blurry until we move our eye to that location. Whew, that was a lot of stuff. Holden, what are your thoughts on this as a VR person? You are a person in virtual reality right now.
I mean, it all makes sense. I think I'm most intrigued by, the whole eye tracking 120 degrees, everyone's doing that. That's kind of that's like saying you're going to have a new generation of Bluetooth in your next iPhone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, that's going to happen. Like, that makes sense. But what is interesting to me is this whole higher end wireless model or a introductory wired model and how that would work and play out. What would the cost difference be? I'm just very curious about how that would look.
Yeah.
But it also gets me thinking about kind of wireless VR and kind of comparing that to like Oculus Quest being wireless VR. And I actually think that it's a better solution to have, if you can do it right and it works well enough, to have a PlayStation VR headset that's is high resolution, or they're talking about, yada, 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 that just wirelessly connects to the PlayStation. How often are you going to be doing VR not at home? Probably almost never. Right. You might as well have a really powerful console powering that thing wirelessly, as opposed to Oculus Quest. It's a mobile processor inside of a headset that has a 2-hour battery life. It has a 2-hour battery life because it's a processor inside that headset. That's great right now, but I do think that if they could nail that higher-end wireless model, even if it does cost more, that looks just as good as the wired model and probably has a better battery life than something like an Oculus Quest because it's really just a display and not really crunching heavy numbers itself, that could be a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
And that kind of excites me a lot.
With the wireless, they had mentioned like there are two ways to go, and they've looked at both ways. There's the system on a chip as well as the battery and all of that built into the headset, and then there's the just communicating over a wireless frequency with a PlayStation. And one of the things that they had mentioned about the standalone version is like what you then have to get into is not only do you have all of that, but you also have to have a capable battery of powering that processor, which means that's going to add a lot of weight to it. It's going to add a lot of bulk to the headset. And then he mentioned like, but we did see the Oculus Quest come out, and we're interested to like get more feedback on whatever that turns out to be. But it sounds like they're definitely leaning more towards it's an accessory to your PlayStation rather than a standalone thing.
And it's a working out for them. They are the best-selling VR headset right now. It has not hurt them in the slightest.
It's like 4.6 million units, I think.
Yeah, it's beating everyone else by a lot. It's not a close race by any stretch of the imagination. Like, at this point, like, if it's a horse track, they're at like everyone else at the first corner, and Sony's at Jupiter. Like, it's just not even the same race.
Dude, that horse is amazing. It can breathe outside in space.
It's great, and it goes fast too. Like it got there without burning up or anything. Like, holy crap!
So while all of that is interesting to think about what the next one might look like, we won't necessarily see it when PS5 launches. So headline says no new PSVR to coincide with Sony next Sony console, says PlayStation R&D head from Cyril Vasquez. So they discussed it, and the direct quote is, "There's no reason for us to coincide it with a new console. Doesn't want the customer to feel like they have to buy everything at once," and I think that makes 100% sense.
And I think this also makes sense with having a wired and high-end wireless model. That wireless model might not be ready yet, especially if they want to do as high resolutions they're talking about. Double the resolution's insane. That's a really high-end headset. But if you really think about that, PlayStation 5 is probably going to come out in like 2020. I mean, some people are predicting 2021, but that seems late to me. Like 2020 sounds about right. So 2021, 2022, 2013, not going to happen. 2023, like that range of years, they could release a headset of that quality in that time frame, I think. Yeah. I don't think that's unrealistic. And plus, we already know PlayStation VR is going to work with the current model will work with PS5, so they can put it off a little while and still have VR support on PlayStation 5, still sell games for VR for PlayStation 5 while waiting for this new one to come out. So like they have time to make that everything work.
Yeah. Sorry, I
we will
literally
see.
just was thinking about, like, I wonder how much PlayStation VR will cost when PS5 finally launches. Whether you could just pick up the entire bundle for like $150. And then I was thinking, holy shit, how crazy is it that right now you could go out and on a lot of places find a deal for a VR headset, a camera, motion controllers, 2 games for like $180. How fucking crazy is that?
Yeah, but you just wait for next-gen PS5 because next-gen PSVR, I mean, this generation PSVR is such... It's totally hobbled together to work.
Oh, yeah, with like Move controllers from 20 years ago.
Yeah, the same cameras from 20 years ago. Like,
oh, yeah.
I mean, more like 10 years ago, to be fair. But yeah, like 20, 30 years ago. Oh, so old. And
using literally the Game Boy camera.
That's great. So the next generation one, if they're putting this much time into it, I am really excited to see because there's no way they're just going to use Move controllers again with the same camera in the next decade. Like, it's just not going to happen.
How accessible would it be if you could just buy the new headset by itself and already have the rest of the setup?
I mean, maybe it'll be like it's backwards compatible, but when they ship it, there's going to be new controllers.
Yeah.
I mean, the PlayStation 3 controllers are not compatible with a PlayStation 4.
PlayStation 3 Move controllers are compatible with a PlayStation 4 VR.
But say maybe the next generation they won't have support. Who knows? Like, you buy it all at once.
Technically, fun fact, I a couple weeks ago upgraded from the regular PSVR to the 1.1 model where it just has the HDR pass through. Mm-hmm. And I got the bundle that comes with the Move controllers, and they did slightly redesign the Move controllers. Ooh. They now charge with USB, micro USB instead of USB Mini.
Oh, I thought you were going to say USB-C, and I'm like, success for USB-C, but no. The next ones will, though. They have a
slight matte finish on them that makes them easier to grasp, and they have a redesigned wrist loop. so they did redesign and think about these controllers for the PS4.
It just got me really excited to think, oh my gosh, next generation consoles might have USB-C ports everywhere. I'm a big USB-C person.
You are a big person shaped like USB-C.
I am. I'm a big port.
Yes.
And I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be great.
Me too. Speaking of things to look forward to, next gen, main quest. All about Sony's investor meeting and some teases that we have. Holden, you're going to take over. I feel like I've talked 600 words in the last 4 seconds. Go.
Let's do it. So Sony had an investors relations meeting, and there was a lot of things that were discussed there, and a lot of things that kind of teased. They never really directly said next gen in some of these cases, but they really felt like they were teasing things about next gen for me. So let's start off with first one here, which is PlayStation boss believes the streaming era is about to experience rapid growth. From Imran Khan at Game Informer. So Jim Ryan, the CEO of Sony, believes the streaming era is upon us, and that's basically a reference not just to PlayStation Now, but also remote play. I guess they still are looking to that as a technology that they want to invest in. He also says they claims that everyone else is in startup/catch-up mode, but Sony's been building its ecosystem for over 20 years, and it has 13 powerhouse studios. That was kind of confusing for me. Was he talking just about PlayStation Now and saying everyone else is a startup, or is he talking about PlayStation and their ecosystem?
Yeah, I'd be interested to... there are parts of this that you've quoted out. I'd be interested to see the actual sentence. I'm sure it's just as confusing, though. But the last part of it makes me think that, like...
It's about PlayStation itself, yeah.
Exactly, yeah, the ecosystem.
But the whole startup and catch-up mode in context of talking about streaming services and the streaming era kind of growing, I'm like, just because PlayStation Now has been around longer, I wouldn't say... It's basically just been in a very, very long beta phase.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I thought that was interesting. But he's not wrong about the studios. They definitely have some clout there. We'll return to that. He also said, interestingly, PlayStation 4 will remain profitable for 3 years, according to Sony. They had showed us... this is from a PDF document that was associated with this investors meeting. And in this page of the PDF document, it says the critical role of PS4. One is it will remain the engine of engagement and profitability for the next 3 years. I will come back to that. Will provide the fertile early adopter gamer base critical for next-gen success, and is outstanding roster of exclusive games still yet to come. So, honestly, I just want to let's just go through everything, and then we'll kind of go on my thoughts on kind of where
Great.
this is going. So the third thing here is Sony shows off PS5 loading times. You sent me this video, actually, of the PS5 loading time.
We've already read all about this from Wired Magazine, but the same demonstration that was in the Wired thing is
demo.
now we can see video of it.
Yeah, we can see video of it. It is literally exactly as they described it in the Wired article. Sony's also exploring next-gen crossplay thanks to PS4 backwards compatibility. And then Sony's also planning to buy more studios to bolster the PS5 exclusive lineup. And they want to make not just acquisitions for new studios, but also, as they put it, organic growth within their own studios. So that was a lot of stuff there. But I think a lot of that is kind of teasing what their plans are for next-gen. But I'm curious what your thoughts are, Chad, before I go into my little spiel.
I think part of the big thing that they are going to be focusing on is obviously PS4 is still a big part of their strategy.
Yes.
The title of that thing, The Critical Role of PS4. They have almost 100 million of these things out in homes. When they launch PS5, it's going to be, they'll probably sell 1 million the first week or the first day or the first weekend or something like that. But it's going to be a long time before that thing starts churning out money anywhere near on the scale of PS4. So some of the evidence that we see here of ways that they're going to be supporting that, I think is really interesting to talk about, like the exploring cross-gen play with PS4, thanks to backward compatibility.
Yeah.
So if I buy a game on PS5 and you buy a game on PS4, we can still play together. That doesn't limit us to I can't only play with people who have PS5. That obviously goes for a lot of cross-gen titles coming out. So that third-party wise, it's always been a really big thing with new generations of coming out on both the old and the new hardware. But that leads me to believe that also PlayStation might be releasing their titles. I mean, they kind of did that with The Last of Us where they remastered it, but maybe you get one SKU and that SKU works on both consoles.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be like the remastered situation. I literally think the game they release as PS4 on PS4 will just get like an update that's like the HDR patches. It's something they release for games.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same idea. It's just going to higher resolution textures, support for God rays, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That, sorry, this might get us off on a tangent. We might need to say, hey, let's make a different conversation for this sometime. What if the next PlayStation 5, what if PlayStation 5 is just called PlayStation and they just move to being like, you buy a game and whatever hardware you put it into, it just, oh, cool, you're on a PS4, I'll play this version. You're on a PS5, I'll play this version of it.
So actually, that's kind of where I wanted to go with this conversation. Yeah,
you don't buy a game box that says PS5 on it. You just say it's a PlayStation.
I'm not going quite that far, but I do think that this is going to be, and I've said this before, a soft launch. That essentially, like I was looking at the numbers, like their claim of PS4 will remain the engine of engagement and profitability for the next 3 years. Well, I'm like, okay, how profitable was PS3 in the last few years? Like, how many people were buying PlayStation 3s? A lot of people might be buying games still, but how many people were buying PlayStation 3s? And boy, the numbers plummet after PS4 comes out, obviously. So you went from 8.46 million in 2013, which is technically the last year it was on sale because PS4 was only on sale for the last 2 years or last 2 months of that. Next year, 3.64 million. The year after that, 1.39 million. So it drops off a lot, which means that they're really probably making sales off of the games that are there, not necessarily the new consoles being sold.
Right. Software and services, that's where the money and the profitability comes from.
And the same thing is seen with Xbox 360, the same exact trend. So I think the cross-play, cross-gen is going to tie right into that. But I think what they might want to do as well is, I think there's even a rumor of this, is have a super cheap PS4 that you can kind of get in and play some of these games on. That's the entry-level access to the PlayStation ecosystem. There's also rumors of PlayStation 5 costing $500. Why would they do that? If it's going to be too much money, that could kind of hurt them. It's proven to hurt them before. But if PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 kind of have this backwards kind of exchange with each other, it really wouldn't be like having a $500 to get into the new PlayStation games. They might still have a lot of cross-gen games that are coming out for it. And that kind of got me looking at, well, what about the studios that Sony has? Like, are they going to be ready for launch? And looking at it, most studios probably aren't going to be ready until 2022 at least. So when they say we want 3 years of profitability out of PS4, that might be them saying 2022 is when we're going to start seeing a lot of our first party studios releasing big games. So like Guerrilla Games is the first one to come out. They generally take 3 to 4 years for their games to release, and it's 2017 is when Horizon Zero Dawn came out. We know they're working on that game, and it sounds like, from the rumors we've been hearing, development's been going pretty well. So 2020, 2021 sounds like good for them. That's the earliest one. Polyphony's also there with Gran Turismo 2020, 2021. But after that, like Santa Monica, Naughty Dog, Sucker Punch, Bend, Media Molecule, all those studios, they're not ready until 2023, 2022 timeframe. That's a long wait. But if they can...
Unless these games that they're coming out with now...
Exactly. Unless like Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, Last of Us Part 2 kind of transition smoothly and play well with PS5. And there's still exciting games that people would still say, well, I know I can play Last of Us Part 2 on PS4, but I really would like to play it on PS5 because it's going to be so much better. They're going to get that audience, I think. So I think that the soft launch is what's going to happen. And that it's still going to be a next generation, because they've always iterated still that it is a next generation console.
Right.
They've always said, like Microsoft has said, generations are dead. Sony has maintained generations are still alive. Maybe this is the last time. I don't know. But I think they also know they can get away with it, because I think Microsoft's going to have a similar launch, because they're more okay with, here's just the new hardware, the games are going to come for it. So I think that kind of what your point of saying, like, it's just PlayStation, like, here's just kind of like the new console. It does what you're used to doing. It's just better PS4. I kind of think that's what this is going to be.
I find it interesting to think about from, I don't know, hardware-wise, if we're going to see that, where it's like now just the PlayStation platform. Mm-hmm. But when you think about the way games
it's still
release,
PlayStation. I still think it's PlayStation 5 to be.
Yeah, it's going to be PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
But when you think about the way games release, when PS3 went to PS4,
mm-hmm.
a lot of the cross-gen titles, there were promotions like, if you buy this game digitally on PS3, then when you buy a PS4, you can pay $10 to upgrade it and have it on PS4. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's no way to do that with a disc because it was printed specifically for one console or the other. Yeah. But with all of... I really think that there might be, software-wise, like it's a one-disc-fits-all kind of thing, or one digital purchase now works everywhere kind of thing. And there is no more, I buy a PS5 game or I buy a PS4 game. I just buy a PlayStation game. Mm-hmm. And it just depends on what box I put it into as to how it looks, what features it has, and how it runs.
Yeah.
That could be super cool.
But also, I think a reason for that PS3, PS4 exchange was that you're going from the cell architecture in the PS3, which is their own kind of custom, to the x86. And for our understanding, it's still x86 in PS5 as well. So, like, it's just a natural fit. Like, it's just, they'd have to do work to make it a pain in the ass and pay $10 to upgrade a game to PS5. They'd have to put in extra work for something like that. So they're not...
Right. And that's a very consumer-friendly way that they could make this happen. I don't know if that's actually, what's going to business-wise make sense for them, but
but
I'm sure they'd love to find a way to charge us money for an extra copy. But
business-wise, it makes all the sense in the world, because they have undeniably become the winners of this generation.
Yeah.
If they can take that and turn it into goodwill moving into the next generation, that's only going to work in their favor. Like, oh, I'm definitely going to buy a PS5 as well as an Xbox, but I'm definitely going to buy a PS5 because all my games are going to come along with it. I just bought Last of Us Part 2 earlier this year, and now the PlayStation 5 is coming out later this year. I can just continue playing that game on my PS5. Yep. That's going to be massive. And it's big for Microsoft because that's kind of been their bread and butter lately, but it's a bigger benefit to Sony because of their size.
And you know why else it's important? Because that builds customer loyalty. And we all know from the Tacoma game that customer loyalty is a form of currency in the future, and it's much preferred to cash. And that's what's important.
That was just a future prediction by Sony by putting that game on PlayStation. Was saying,
and if that comes true, then it definitely means Elon Musk is going to be president too.
That doesn't sound like a good idea.
Well, that's what the game predicted.
He smokes marijuana, Chad, okay?
It's legal in this state.
That's true, it is. I was also kidding. Of all people to complain about
he might.
But yeah, that's all I got to say about the Sony stuff. I think
that's all I've got to say about that. Yeah, I think I'm so ready for fall of this year, when inevitably all this information is going to start rolling out, and we're going to learn so much new stuff.
I don't know if fall is going to be the time, but we'll see.
Well, we're going to hear a little bit of it this summer.
Oh,
But
they'll be
I
sprinkled.
think we're going to start hearing some stuff in the fall.
I think the big announcement is going to be February next year.
No, it's not. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Because I want it now. It's my money, and I need it now. Call JG Wentworth. 877 cash now. Great. That brings us to our end game, where we are going to talk about a few things before we wrap up our show. Number one, if you would like to support us on patreon.com/respawn-aimfire, you can do that. Everything is accessible to you for just $1 a month, and that includes our new wallpapers that we just put out. So we put out a monthly wallpaper. You can check out our Twitter for an idea of what they look like, and they're super fun. I have it on my phone and my computer and my iPad right now. And then you get a chance to play with us, as well as vote on what we get to play for Barf in the months going forward, so that you can become a bigger part of that and have a bigger investment in it. Next up, we're going to talk about Thanks for Creating, where we take a moment to say thank you for those in our industry who do really great things and spread some positivity. So this week, thank the developer of your most anticipated E3 game. Whatever game you're going to see at E3 that you are just jizzing your little pantyhose to find out about, thank that developer. Again, our barf game for the month, backlog accomplishment, the Respawn and Friends, is Borderlands 2. Even if you are not going to play it with us on PS4, but you're going to play along with us on whatever console it is your right and responsibility to give us a 280-character reply so that we can discuss it, of your thoughts on the game. So when we have this discussion at the end of June, you have to tell us how you feel about it so we can discuss it. We do not have a Ryan subscriber interrogative for this week, but if you want to submit one for next week for us to chat about, any kind of question, do it at Respawn-Aimfire on Twitter and everything else. Speaking of everything else, side note, I made the jump yesterday. All of my gaming handles and social media are all now officially at Chad Mike Innes.
Congratulations.
I even changed my PlayStation ID.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I looked at the list of games, and the biggest games that looked like they were going to have trouble that I might play are The Last of Us, Uncharted 4, Dark Souls 3, and Bloodborne. So...
No.
Guess I'm never finishing Dark Souls. I don't know. They probably are all related to multiplayer, which I will probably never do on any of those again.
Why would it help you out in Dark Souls 3?
It also might just be fine, and just like occasionally there are no like defined issues. It doesn't tell you what the issues are, but those are games with some issues identified. Not critical issues, but some issues. But yeah, I made the jump. I'll let you guys know if I run into any like major problems on it.
Quick callback to subscriber interrogatives. You can also research at respawnaimfire@gmail.com as well.
Yes, you can do that. Literally no one's ever done it, but you can.
Well, in case they don't want to announce their question to the
Actually,
whole world.
Spooter Scooter did that a long time ago.
He did.
A long ass time ago. Spooter Scooter, one of the originals, y'all.
Yeah.
What a name.
Spooter
Scooter.
Did he tell us why
it.
he got that name? I think he did.
I think he did too. But it was so long ago. And I'm an old man. Last two segments, we are so fucking humble, where we take a back seat and let people who are on a show discuss something and bring a topic of conversation while Holden and I just sit on back and have ourselves a nice drink, a glass of water. And that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to drink some water right now. Holden's got water too? That's great. We've decided that's all the time you guys get. Thank you, guests, for coming on our show. Speaking of, we will have guests back on very soon. Next week, EF Gaming coming back on for some E3 predictions. Shit, that's next week. We got to organize some stuff. Woo! E3 is upon us! And finally, Game On Game Show. The Game On Game Show. A game show called Game On our game show. We play a game on our game show, and it's called Game On. Game. This week, we have a returning segment called Now Flesh It Out, where we take two games, mash them up, and try to decide what that game looks like. I've got 3 pairings. Holden, are you ready for pairing number 2?
Yeah, let's do
number
the second
2
one
first.
Okay. Let's do it, yeah.
Let's do 2 for 300. Super Metroid cross Injustice. What does that game look like if we were to cross Super Metroid and Injustice, Gods Among Us?
I guess, what's the base game? Is the base game going to be Metroid, or is it going to be Injustice? So let's say the base game Injustice is the easier way to think about it, because that would just be Samus is a fightable character, and then
I just thought of the opposite, but go.
and then you're just fighting against Metroid, you're fighting against like Ridley, just one-on-one fights. But the other ways I think is better, which is Metroid is the base game. But I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
You
okay?
know
So
like.
Picture this: I'm a bag of dicks. Put me to your lips. Sorry, I just saw Booksmart, and that song's in Booksmart.
Oh, okay.
Booksmart's fucking
that's
fantastic.
Also, not
by the
an
way.
Injustice.
Super Metroid. You have the Metroidvania style where like things are locked and gated off access. You are playing as members of the Justice League, and you start out with one character. And then as you come across like barriers and obstacles or enemies that you can only fight with certain superpowers, and you find Flash in a prison somewhere, and you got to break him out of the prison, and then you can just do anything speed related. You can run across spikes or lava or water or whatever. And then you, Batman can, I don't know, throw batarangs at things. Whatever their special powers are, that unlocks the next area or fight.
No. Here's I'm taking your idea. We're taking it to the next level, though.
Okay.
Because it'd be really annoying to be like, oh, I need to run here. Let me go to the menu, go through 30 characters to get to the Flash. Okay, now I can run. It's not going to work. What's going to work is when you get to a boss room, it's the Flash. And now you have to beat the Flash. And he can use his abilities against you, but once you beat him, you absorb his abilities. And now you have...
Like Mega Man style.
Yeah.
But still in Mega Man, you have to cycle through the weapons. What if it's God of War style?
And you just have it?
Where God of War, you like kill that... Like you kill Hermes and you take his sandals. And now you're wearing his sandals and you can just fucking run up walls now. Or you kill Hercules and you take his gauntlets and now you can fucking beat the shit out of things.
That's what I basically mean. Like, in Metroid, you can run really fast if you just start running in one direction for a while. You just do it.
Yeah.
Like, the Flash would work that way, now that you have that ability.
Ooh, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So who are you playing as if you're killing everyone in the Justice League?
A Marvel fan. You play as Stan Lee going through the DC universe.
Oh, R.I.P. That's interesting.
Game.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Good choice. All right. Number 3. Super Hot cross Nintendogs.
Okay, here's what it is. You have 30 puppies that are coming up to you.
Yes.
But time only moves when you move to go pet them. And you have to pet all the puppies within a certain time frame.
Before they overwhelm you and suffocate you.
Yeah, exactly.
What if okay, same idea. Super Hot's the base game.
Yeah.
But maybe you're like a dog catcher. And the dogs are getting away, and like one of them is about to jump off a picnic table and run away. One of them is about to like run between your legs, and you got to like catch the dogs, but you got to plan which ones you're going to catch in what order. Maybe there's a net nearby, and you can throw it over a dog.
Okay. Or you might be able to like net a dog and then like combo and like swipe over to get another dog. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Or there are just a lot of dogs in a room and you got to shoot them to death.
Oh my God, that's terrible. No, I was just thinking
no, we don't condone shooting dogs.
Not only that, but I was thinking like, what's my favorite like happiest word? Like a little phrase, like if I could just say this phrase, I'll always be happy. And that phrase is soft little puppy. I can't not say soft little puppy and like not just become happy immediately.
All right, you only shoot full-grown dogs. And
no, you can't
wiry. They have like poodle hair, so it's not soft.
Oh yeah, fuck those dogs.
Greyhounds are basically mini horses, and horses smell bad.
Or
I like where we settled on that.
Or how about this? There's a cute, soft little puppy in a room, just one, and you have to shoot the cats that are coming to get it.
Yes, kill the cats. Oh, that's perfect. And the cats are like ninjas, like creeping in through the window and like jumping out of an air vent and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yes, I love that.
And they have 9 lives. They're annoying to kill.
Great. Last one for the day. Rock Band cross Ninja Turtles.
I don't really
now,
know.
I kind of came up with something like this. Or came up with something while I was making these up. So it's a rhythm game where you see things coming at you and you got to do that, like Rock Band, right? But then you combine it with like the idea of rhythm game and movement, like Just Dance. And then you think about, what if we add Ninja Turtles to that? What if it's you fighting an onslaught of the Foot Clan, which are the enemies from Ninja Turtles, but it's like rhythm-based fighting and depending on who you are, you fight different styles, whether it's the sai from Raphael or the bow staff from Donatello, and you have to like fight in rhythm to the different moment and move as people come at you, and they're coming at you from different angles, so you got to like punch up into the left with your bow staff to get rid of that guy, and then like rhythm and music-based fighting game in VR.
They should do like, so basically what I'm picturing here is Just Dance, but enemies are coming at the screen and you like pound them, which makes it sound like an iToy game from like PlayStation.
I think the thing is it has to be in VR. Because if you're just looking at a screen with a character of you on it and you're punching, no, it's got to be in VR so that you can see them coming at you and you're punching in real time.
Or it's just it's a VR version of Rock Band where everyone in the audience is a Ninja Turtle. And you just got to keep them happy. That's it. It's really just Rock Band with just Ninja Turtles present in the audience. Okay. That's it. And you're only playing songs featured in the Ninja Turtles at some point.
Like the Ninja Turtles live show.
Is that a thing? I really don't know anything about Ninja Turtles.
No need to hesitate. Think straight. Yeah, I watched the shit out of that. Ninja Turtles live show. That sounds like
a great Rock Band song right there.
I'm going to try to find a video of Ninja Turtles live and send it to you and let you know how awful it is, but I played the shit out of that VHS tape. Great. Well, that's it. That's all we got for now. Flesh It Out and Game on Game Show. And that's it for our show. Again, go check us out on Twitter. Follow us all the place. Play Borderlands 2 with us. That's all we got.
That's all we got.
Until next week, everybody, here's our usual sign-off. I'm a dainty geisha.